What's up, everybody? Welcome to Homertown Hockey, presented by Slapstick Clothing. My name's Phil Bittner, joined as usual by Colton Gogger.
What's going on?
And the triumphant return of Trenton Fuller.
I'm back, motherfuckers. I quit my job.
Yeah?
Yeah, so we can't bring up the Stoob anymore on here. Thank fucking Jesus.
Wait, we could talk shit about them when you did work there, but now that you're an ex-employee, we can't talk about them?
I just don't want to think about them at all ever again.
That's weird, because that was a big part of the plan today, was to just dish about the beer stube.
I mean, if you really want to, they're trying to open the patio up right now, when it's like supposed to be 30 degrees next week. Real smart guys.
Fucking
it's
Germans.
Gonna be 70. Oh,
he's fucking Austrian too. It's not even like he's German.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, like, it wouldn't surprise me too much from, like, the people who decided to go to war with the entire world, not once but twice. But Austria, that's surprising.
Yeah,
well, you have to,
they mostly go to war with Skynet.
Shit,
you gotta remember where the main guy from the Second World War was from, though.
Austria.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's not get
that
too into
makes so much
geopolitical
fucking
history.
Drunk history, presented by Slapstick.
Jesus. Well, let's just get right into it, shall we?
We shall.
Let's go.
All right, cool. The Flames fired their head coach. They fired Jeff Ward after a year and a little over a quarter at the helm. They bring in Daryl Sutter to take over, and they immediately signed him to a 3-year deal.
Can't see what could go wrong there.
No, and immediately there were allegations that came out about him.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, were they from Daniel Carcillo or?
Yeah, it was from Carcillo, who just called him a piece of shit.
Everybody knows he's a piece of shit, but he's still a good coach. Well, decent coach.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is their third coach in the last 2 seasons. We could very well be talking about their fourth coach next week. Who fucking knows?
For sure.
I mean, I could see, like, Jeff Ward not working out because, you know, he was never meant to be the coach of this core that they have in the first place.
Well, dude, it's not even like they were, I don't want to say underperforming or overperforming. They were 24-15-3 last year. They were 11-11-2 this year. Yeah, the goaltending had been an issue, but I don't think it's like they were, like, crazy bad or anything.
Yeah,
so he was not the first head coach that I thought was going to get fired this year.
This wasn't even on my radar of hot seat coaches, really.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, their record, they are underperforming, but it's one of those things where, like, you fire a guy because of the GM who brought in this goalie in free agency fires a guy over bad goaltending.
Right.
Like, it's like, you know, we saw the same thing last year with Pete DeBoer getting fired in San Jose. It's like, you're the one who has been for years just thinking that Martin Jones is fine, and then you fire your coach when you're losing games because Martin Jones fucking sucks.
Right.
Like, maybe get us not the worst goalie in the league, and then maybe judge the coach.
Right. And I feel like that's the GM sticking up for himself when he realizes, like, oh shit, I gave this dude a really bad contract in Markstrom, and then going, maybe a coaching change will fix it.
Yeah. Yeah, because a new, like, what, Daryl Sutter's gonna come in like, hey, Jacob, why don't you, like, make a fucking save? Genius! Jeff Ward never suggested that.
Jeff Ward told me the same thing. He just didn't swear at me. Maybe that's what I need. I just need to get sworn at.
Like talking to the GM and Chell.
Right.
Our prospects aren't being hazed enough. Let's bring in Sutter.
Jeez.
Babcock's next.
I'm guessing that is the allegations with Sutter, right? Doesn't that date back to the hazing in juniors?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So that's not even new allegations. You
No.
would think that a team that had the not Bill Peters. Who was their coach that got fired?
That was.
I thought Peters was Carolina. Am I wrong?
No, I'm
Am I
pretty
being
sure it
dumb
was
right
Bill
now?
Peters.
It was Bill Peters.
Yeah, I thought so.
Okay. Anyways, I don't know. Yeah, who was the coach that got fired in Carolina last year?
Nobody. That was Brindamore.
You're right. Okay. All right.
Holy
yeah.
shit! Did I get a hockey trivia right?
Yeah.
Did.
Look at me.
I think I just mixed them up because wasn't it that? Oh, it was that didn't. Who's Carolina's coach right now?
Rob Brindamore.
Didn't Bill Peters go from Carolina to Calgary?
That might make sense.
I think that's what it was, because then there was also a few trades between Carolina and Calgary. And I think at one point, one coach went, obviously, from Carolina to Calgary.
In 2019, on November 29, 2019, Bill Peters resigns as Flames head coach after admitting to using racial slur towards ex-player.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like the same week as Babcock.
We're getting on it early with us bringing up things we don't know the answer to and just bringing ourselves right to a dead halt.
Yep.
Hey, hold on. Colton and I knew that.
Right.
Yeah. But what I was saying is you would think that given that happening just last year, they would maybe stay away from another controversial coach.
Right. And then immediately sign him to a 3-year deal. Like you almost had this planned the whole time.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
It's
sticky situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, since their goalies are having trouble, they could hire another goalie coach.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
I
what
hear there's one walking around.
It was in Peters had been the coach of the Hurricanes before.
Right.
And that was why I was thinking that, because I remember on this podcast making jokes when players were traded, like Hannafin traded from Carolina to Calgary, who there had been rumors about him not being happy. It's like, oh, you traded him there, and then they got the same coach. Peters was only there since 2018. So that's...
He was there a year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about a year and a half. So this team just keeps going through
So
coaches. My dog is acting like an idiot in the background.
See, I don't think he was fired for his actions in Calgary. I thought it was for his actions in Carolina.
I think that's what it was.
It was by a former player, not when he was in...
yeah, because the Carolina players were surprised by it. Okay, we got that timeline straightened out. So he was fired from Calgary for actions with the Hurricanes.
There we go.
Okay.
A piece published by TSN detailing some of the allegations of racism made by Akeem Alou, a player who played for Peters with the AHL's Rockford Ice Hogs in 2009-2010.
Plot thickens more. It wasn't with the Hurricanes. Holy fuck.
It was with the system.
So anyways, Daryl Sutter, I could see him working with Calgary, though. I mean, you're talking a team that has a lot of what those Los Angeles Kings teams had that Sutter had success with. A lot of decent two-way play from on both sides of a good defensive team in general with some good scorers. I mean, they have a very similar formula to those Kings teams.
And if he can kickstart Johnny Gaudreau, that would help too.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say he'll probably either kickstart him or
kick him.
Yeah.
To the curb.
But I mean, there's been trade rumors around Gaudreau anyways, so at least this way you figure out, are you keeping him or trading him finally, instead of talking about it for 3 fucking years.
Exactly. Well, since Trent's back, Trent, you want to talk some Bruins?
Let's do it.
So the Caps...
I mean, we're going to be talking about this, but yeah.
I mean, that's why I brought it up. Um, the Caps and the Bruins played a pretty interesting series. Started with, well, Ovechkin just decided to take Trent Frederick's future generations and do away with them with a nice little spear to the groin. Got an OV, a nice little $5,000 fine, the
What pissed me
maximum.
off about that play was that Trent Frederick got a 2-minute penalty for roughing.
Because Trent had been all over him the whole game. Like that's the
Well,
unsaid
yeah,
part
but
here.
you can do that, but then he gets cup checked and then he goes to the box. Put that penalty on him before this, and maybe the cup check won't happen.
The refs have completely failed to maintain any semblance of control throughout this one-on-one series between these two teams. I know what you're
Very
saying,
true.
and there's also an aspect of it gets frustrating when I'm not saying that Frederick didn't deserve that roughing, but how do those two things offset?
Right.
That's my issue.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of times offsetting penalties are just so stupid. The main one's the embellishment rule, where like you get a penalty, like it was tripping, but you embellished it. That's like if you get busted for mugging, the police also give you a ticket for being kind of a bitch about it. Like, or not if you get arrested, for if you get mugged. Like, just there's a lot of things in the NHL where
That's
offsetting
great.
penalties are stupid, and I can agree with Trent. Like, I I don't disagree with Trent Frederick getting a roughing call. He was going after Ovechkin the entire fucking game.
Entire dealing out cross check, and again, that's part of the game. But still, like he was going after him the whole game.
But yeah, maybe don't finally ring him up for it when someone tries to end his fucking bloodline.
Yeah. That,
And it
I
was,
mean,
yeah.
that entire first game was just incredibly frustrating to watch.
And that's also a play from Ovi where you do that and you're immediately getting labeled a dirty player.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then he goes and backs Tom Wilson.
Let's get into it.
So in the second game of that series, Tom Wilson boarded Brendan Carlo up high. Wilson got sent off and then got a nice little hearing, and then he got a 7-game suspension.
No penalty on the ice, though.
No penalty on the ice was called, and Carlo ended up leaving that game in an ambulance afterwards. So, repeat offender, and a little 7-game sit down for Tommy Wilson.
I gotta tell you, I think this is gonna be the one where he learns.
Yeah. Key word in
It
that sentence was
wasn't
repeat. Repeat.
It wasn't
offender.
the 20. It wasn't the 20 games. It's going to be this measly 7.
Yeah. I will say this: it's a dirty play, but it's an avoidable play on Wilson's part.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See what really, that watching him come down the ice and seeing Carlo there, I knew that something bad was going to happen. I didn't think that it was going to end like it did, but seeing him come down on him, I knew it was going to be a big hit. And then, like, at first glance, I did not, live, I didn't think it was going to be that big of a penalty until I saw him on the ice afterwards. And
I didn't. Yeah, the first time I saw it, I didn't think it was that bad. I was like, okay, yeah, it's high, but
it really didn't look like. I mean, live, it didn't look like he was trying to hit the head. It's just kind of what happened, and then the head obviously bounces against the boards, and that's what makes him go down. But what really pissed me off about that was Verona taking a couple extra cross checks to him after he's already on the ice. That I don't understand that. Why would you even fucking do that?
There are a lot of times, though, when you see those puck battles in the corner, when one guy is down, especially if he's kind of shielding the guy's view of the puck, where you see those little cross checks. But I mean, Carlo was holding his head before he even went down.
Yeah, he drops his stick
as soon
right
as he
away.
gets hit, he drops his stick and holds his head. So
and then there's one cross check to the shoulders, and then there's another one down on the lower back, that he rides all the way to his neck. Like, there's just, I don't know, bullshit play. I'm sure he's going to have to answer to it next game.
Yeah.
Yeah, he will. You saw, I mean, it also is going to take a lot for Zdeno Chara to start fighting his old teammates.
That was
he tried.
That was weird. That was really fucking weird to watch.
Watching Chara punch Marchand with the glove on.
Yeah. Then him coming up after the scrum going, "You think I forgot about you?" That was so great.
Do any of us have a real issue with, like, the fact that he was suspended or the length of the suspension? I'm going to guess no.
I mean, I think it should have been longer.
Yeah.
This is his 5th suspension. I understand that he's not a repeat offender anymore, which, by the way, that whole 18 months is fucking stupid. You could get suspended every other fucking season without being considered a repeat offender during your hearing at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I'm pretty sure the 18 months expired during the COVID shutdown.
It did.
So there's that. I don't necessarily think that he was aiming for the head here, but he certainly wasn't avoiding it, and he was certainly, if you watch leading up to the play, he's battling with Trent Frederick in front of the benches. Mm-hmm. He's clearly pissed off and goes to take it out on someone and catches him in the head. When you watch the way he approaches it, he doesn't really put it very squarely on any part of the core of Carlo's body. He grazes the shoulder, goes straight through the shoulder into the head. He goes in, his stick is up in the air, like, it looks like a fucking pose from Ghost of Tsushima, the way he's holding his fucking stick. One of the reports I read said that's one of the things the Capitals have worked with him on to avoid those high hits, is keeping his stick on the ice when he goes into those hits. He did it. He clearly goes up and twists through the hit. It's the same hit we've seen from Tom Wilson a million times. And I wish that anyone saw me as incapable of doing wrong as Washington fans see Tom Wilson.
Yeah.
Like,
oh
Jesus
my God.
Christ.
Sometimes I just would go through the comments just to laugh at how stupid people are.
My mom isn't as protective of me as Tom Wilson's fans are of him.
That's Stanley Cup champion Tom Wilson to you, fucker.
You shut the fuck up.
Yeah, he looks just like fucking Stanley Cup champion Matt Cook out there.
I do think
fuck that guy. It's just you know, and again, we hear the argument of like, oh, well, if it wasn't Tom Wilson, we wouldn't have this conversation. It's like, yeah, that's because it's always fucking Tom Wilson.
Tom Wilson.
Over and over again. Yes, you're right. He wouldn't have such a reputation as a dirty player if he didn't keep fucking throwing anywhere from
dirty
questionable
hits
to blatantly dirty hits.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Did you guys see that? Speaking of, did you guys see that Connor Murphy hit on Eric Cernak today in the Blackhawks Lightning game?
Yeah, I watched that live. I've been watching hockey all day long.
I'd go ahead and say we're probably going to be talking about that one next week.
There's a good probability.
It's one of those ones where Cernak goes around the back of the net and Murphy comes from about the face-off circle on the far side, catches him blindsided, jumps into it, hits him like back of his shoulder blades right into the fucking face. I
don't think that he jumped into it. I think he left the feet after contact, but he did raise his body up.
He might not have left his feet, but he definitely launched his body, even if he kept
Yes.
Yeah, there is with physics, sometimes your feet come up there. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, he definitely propelled his body up, much like Tom Wilson. You know, he stayed on his feet through the contact, but he lifted his body into the hit. And then, so
he was also given a 5.
What's up? Yeah.
No, Murphy was also given a 5 and a misconduct. So
that might not
did anything.
I don't know. I think that's at least 2 games there.
It should be, yeah.
Look, considering they just suspended another dude in his fucking season debut for 2 games, like
Yeah. Yeah,
which
Blickfield for the hit on Nathan McKinnon.
which I couldn't tell. Were they trying to change lines and he just decided to blow up McKinnon on that play? Because that's what it looked like to me.
I don't really know.
As when I saw the video, it looked like
Because there's
Blickfield was
guy.
headed for the.
Go ahead.
It just looked like he was headed for the bench, and then just was like, "I'm gonna fuck this dude up."
It
It
does,
just
because when
caught
it
him.
shows the view from behind the bench, like, you see clearly, like, I noticed because I like Logan Couture a lot, he's already standing up, looking like, yeah, he might have been getting ready to go out.
That's exactly what I was thinking because it looked like the bench, anyways, looked like they were gonna, like it looked like a shift change, and then it just this kid in his season debut just fucking blows up McKinnon, who immediately leaves the game to go to the concussion protocol, and then Blickfield gets a match and a 5.
Yeah, I don't know what he was fucking thinking on that hit. I know what he was. I think he might have been aiming to catch, like, the shoulders, because McKinnon's hunched over kind of awkwardly there. And if you manage to catch his shoulders and nod his head, you can get one of those cool looking hits where you fucking spin the guy. But,
Yeah.
I mean, the way he approached that hit, there was no way he was going to make contact with anything but the head.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, right?
I don't know enough about. I mean, he's making his season debut like 20-something games in. He's not a guy that I know a lot about.
No,
But-
he's big. I don't want to say he's a big deal, but just because I follow the Sharks a little bit, it seemed like people were pretty stoked to see him finally get his shot this season. So,
Well, he made the most of it.
he definitely he got a shot that season.
He
Yes,
got
he
himself
did.
on the scorecard in his debut. Was that his season debut or NHL debut?
Season because he made. I do remember he played a couple games last year for his NHL debut.
Okay.
But yeah, it was his season debut.
Okay, I wondered about that. Just because the way you said people were excited to see him get his shot, I thought maybe you had said it wrong before. Yeah, I don't
No.
know. Yeah, I mean, I'm not out saying this kid is a dirty player or anything. That was an incredibly fucking stupid play.
That was just dumb. Like that's all it was. It's like just go make the. And I wonder if that's a case of a kid seeing Nathan McKinnon about to just rip you apart and just, I'm taking this one, boys.
Yeah, that's the most sense I can make of it. Or just be noticed. You know, you hit a star player your first call up of the season. And the way the Sharks are right now, you know, why not? You might get a chance to stick around. So
Right.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he got overzealous trying to make a name for himself in his first game of the year in what could be end up being his rookie season. But it was real dumb.
Also, I almost feel bad for Nathan McKinnon in the sense that like, dude just can't stay healthy right now. It's like every 6 games, 7 games, something's happening.
So yeah, wasn't he hurt last week?
Yeah, exactly. He's been on and off the ice all season.
I mean,
He
really
almost
all
did.
of his career.
True. I mean, he almost didn't play in their outdoor game last week, or 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't 100% for that, and it's just one of those things where it's like we talked about it, where he could be, leading this league in goals a year, every single year, if he played 60 plus games, if he played more than 65 games a year.
If he doesn't get blown up by Blitzfield.
Yeah,
He is Sidney Crosby's protege in every way.
it really is.
Yeah.
Really.
I mean, yeah, the Nathan McKinnon aspect, you hate to see it. Like, yeah, the guy's had just, especially when it's stuff like that, like, that's not being injury prone, that's just, you happen to be the guy that a young kid makes a fucking idiotic play against.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's he gonna do there? He was playing he had the right to be in the position he was and not expect a shot just across the face like that.
Exactly. And like you said with the Wilson hit, I don't think he really even came close to squaring him up. He caught him clean in the head.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rough.
It almost looked like he got him with an elbow too.
A little bit.
Yeah. I don't
A
know.
little bit. The Canadians fired their goaltending coach, Stefan Waite, and it's French Canadian, and I'm sure that wasn't anywhere near correct, but he got fired, and apparently he got fired midway through the second period.
Yeah. Things are
When you got
going
Carey
really
Pr-
well in Montreal.
See,
Yeah,
when you
here.
have Carey Price, you don't need a goalie coach.
I have the stats real quick. At the time of his firing, both Canadians goaltenders had a save percentage of .908 and then a 2.62 goals against average. Price himself was carrying an .898 save percentage into that game.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Carey Price got to be a bit above 9 though.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, not bad.
Yeah,
But
but then you have Jake
was it really
Allen
the goalie
having,
coach, or was it?
like, Jake Allen looking better than he's ever looked.
Yeah, what's Allen at? Allen at this moment is carrying a .921 saves percentage and a 2.31 goals against.
I just can't imagine looking at Jake Allen, of all people, putting up those numbers and thinking, oh, this goalie coach is garbage. We got to fire him.
Well, it was also on the back of like a 7-2 loss.
I mean,
Still,
yeah.
I mean that's after a brand new coach, right? Wasn't after that was after Claude
Yeah.
Julien got fired.
Yeah, that was after the Julian firing.
So blame it on the new coach. You got no system in, no set system. The players aren't they're not acclimated yet. But I don't know.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
seems like
as
it-
far as Carey Price's numbers being low, let's not act like he's been Mr. Consistency throughout his career.
No, God no.
Correct.
God no. That is just one of those things where it's like, it's Canadian hockey fans shitting their pants because somebody that we were told for years on years was actually really good, and then like maybe he's not as good as we thought he was. Nobody
You know,
gonna say
actually, no,
anything?
this is Carey Price's worst season, save percentage-wise.
Yeah.
Still, I don't know. I just don't. I don't know with the Canadians, man.
That team looks so fucking slow.
Yeah,
I watched them last night. Their team there's no speed at all.
Which is
They're
one of
playing
the things
tired.
we gave them credit for when we were saying we thought they would suck going into the year, is that they do have speed.
right.
Mhm.
And we credit at the beginning of the year when they came out really hot. We're like, this team is fast and plays heavy, and now like all of that is gone.
And they were playing Winnipeg, and you know their defense isn't that good.
They also played Vancouver a ton.
Yeah, so that'll pad the stats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you carry Price, apparently.
Long
Trent,
time.
you're glowing right now as we talk about the downfall of the Canadians.
I am. It's wonderful.
Do you see
I
him
do
take
feel
that?
bad. Huh?
He took that satisfying drag. The more we just, keep going.
Like Aaron Rodgers drinking the Purple Crush.
Purple Crush after the Vikings game. What? This? Oh, I always drink one of these after the game.
Trent's holding up a foil, just suntanning in his living room.
Just basking in it.
Yeah.
I do kind of feel bad for our sponsor, Slapstick Clothing. Because, I mean, Jake can't be too happy about it.
Yeah. Well,
Fuck him.
that's what he fucking gets for picking that shitty team. He's from Galesburg.
True.
He didn't have to be a Montreal fan.
All right. Brent Seabrook announced his retirement citing injuries at the age of 35. Seabrook played 15 seasons, all with the Chicago Blackhawks. He is a 3-time Stanley Cup winner, played in 1,114 games, and hasn't played a game since 2019.
So I wonder
Wait, he
what
just now
Arizona's going to
retired?
give up for him.
Jesus.
OEL.
Oh, yeah.
That
Yeah.
would be fucking wild.
That would be funny.
I think those days are over of Arizona just being the long-term injured
Chicago.
reserve island.
Right.
Probably go to San Jose next.
Yeah.
They do love
Seabrook?
bad contracts for defensemen.
Yeah, they do.
Yes, they do.
Especially ones that are injured.
Especially ones that get faked out by a goaltender
Wait,
after
what?
he got pulled. Carlson was the one that Binnington like flinched punched.
2 for
and
flinching.
He, like,
Oh my
yeah, and he
God.
like fucking geeked out. Which we could talk about that in a minute. But yeah, Carlson was the one who like freaked out because he thought Binnington was actually going to hit him. But no.
I was picturing like when Patrick Waugh deked Gretzky, like that situation.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, rest in peace, Walter Gretzky.
Yes. Well, rest in peace, Walter Gretzky. For
did
sure.
it
While we're
make it
doing
a
rest in
topic?
peace.
'Cause we're-
Say, while we're doing rest in peace, Mark Pavlik, too.
Yes. Dude had some his brain left him a long time ago due to some drug abuse and just mental health issues, and within a Minnesota rehab facility when they found him dead a couple days ago. So that sucks, but pour one out for a member of that iconic 1980 team. But
I
does
don't know why
anybody
I committed
have
to that bit by actually pouring some of my beer out when only you guys can see it, and I did pour it straight
you
onto my crotch.
I was about to say you didn't pour it into a bowl or a cup, you poured it onto yourself.
Gangster.
Anybody have anything to say about the Seabrook retirement? Sucks that it had to be to injuries, but 3-time Stanley Cup champion, gold medal at the World Juniors and the Olympics. Dude had a pretty damn good career. Over 100 goals for a defenseman too.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but I mean, as far, you obviously feel bad to see any player not go out on his own terms, but there's guys that I feel worse for. Seabrook had a great career. He did kind of fall victim to that thing where when a player ends up getting paid for services rendered, eventually their fan base hates them for simply getting old. And
injured.
all he did was accept a contract that Stan Bowman offered him. You hate to see a player get ripped for that. I mean, we've made our jokes about his contract, but that's on Bowman, not him.
That's
but at least with Chicago fans, they were able to. The consensus I've seen is all of that resentment towards his overpayment over the last few years subsided for appreciation of what he did in his time there, and he deserves it. He was a great player.
To go back to his contract real quick, as a fan of a team that paid 2 separate players 13-year contracts and then gave Joe Mauer a $116 million contract, you pay those players how much they got the contract they were worth at the time. And it's the same shit that happened to Seabrook. Is he deserved that contract at the time, and all he did was accept it. Didn't go it wasn't like he was trying to be that. I mean, they are trying to be that handsomely paid, but it's not like, he's sitting there trying to
arguing for more.
It's not like he was holding out on the team or anything.
Exactly. And it always pisses me off when fans blame the player for that situation, especially in those situations where at that time you pay that player that much money. Because I've seen it, when Parise and Suter retire from Minnesota, all the Wild fans are going to be like, oh, thanks for all the memories. But it's like, no, you spent 10 of their 13 years shitting on them. Shut the fuck up.
Salary cap is 100% a general manager issue and not a player issue.
Exactly.
And the argument to that is always, well, if they take less money, then the team can't win. It's like, well, then the GM shouldn't be offering a contract so big that he can't build a winning team with it on its roster.
Yeah, then maybe your GM should fucking reevaluate his decisions a little bit.
Exactly. You can't blame a guy for accepting a fuck ton of money.
Right. And again, you pay at that time what he was coming off of was, I don't think he ever won a Norris, but he was Norris level player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was part of a deadly 1-2 punch on defense with Duncan Keith for a long time.
And he was a cornerstone of that Chicago dynasty there for the first part of that decade.
So he wore an A almost. I know at least 2 of the 3 cups.
He was part of a defensive core that won Stanley Cups with Antti Ranta and Corey Crawford behind them.
Okay, but Corey Crawford actually, like, that last cup run was legit, and
that last cup run, he got benched for half of the Nashville series.
In the Nashville series, but for the actual cup finals, dude was lights out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Lights out. And Crawford
especially against that Tampa team.
Yeah, exactly. Crawford, and that like kickstarted that like 5-year period of dominance where Corey Crawford was continually a top 3 goaltender in the NHL.
Numbers wise, yes, I think a lot of that is the team in front of him. I mean, I like Corey Crawford, but I think he was as good as you. He was better than you need to be behind that Chicago team.
Correct.
He's
Which
never
is more
someone
the point
that I ever would have called elite or anything.
Right.
Is mainly what I'm saying.
And more the point I'm trying to make is like a lot of that stuff, the defensive structure ran through Seabrook. Like he was the quarterback of a lot of that. So that is the only time you'll ever hear me saying nice things about a Chicago Blackhawks player. Multiple Chicago Blackhawks players.
When they retire?
Yeah, exactly.
Kane's next.
I was waiting.
Yeah, and there it is. Let's get into the funniest. Let's get into the funniest thing that happened this weekend when Jordan Binnington fucking melted down and pretended to punch people for 2 minutes.
What was he so mad at? That he got pulled?
He got pulled. No, so he got pulled, and he was heading towards the St. Louis bench. And if you watch the video, he's leaning over, or somebody on the St. Louis bench is like leaning over. Sorry, not St. Louis. San Jose bench is leaning over and clearly says something to Binnington. And Binnington just immediately like U-turns, and that's when somebody got in his way. So he hit that person, skated away, pretended to punch Carlson, and then for whatever reason decided to go after Devin Dubnyk, who's like 2 feet bigger than him, which was also hilarious to see that part of it.
You see what Dubnyk said afterwards?
I did not.
Yeah.
So what's he gonna do? He's like 180 pounds soaking wet.
He said, I don't know why he's skating around pretending to punch people. He said, I told him to get off the ice. Because that was in the end, it was him and Dubnyk going after each other. I would have liked to see that fight. Devin Dubnyk's a big guy.
Dubnyk's like 6'6".
Yeah.
Like, that's not even on skates. He's a big dude.
As far as what he was mad about, I'd have to guess that it said his save percentage is dropping every fucking year at this point.
I think he's more mad
that breakout year, a 927, a 912 last year, which was enough to take 7th in Vezina voting, which I think was a lot of people. It had to be people feeling bad that he didn't get the Calder because of not playing the whole year. I don't see how how Binnington got Vezina votes last year. But then, coming in with a 908 this year.
Part of it too is they started off so hot last year before the bubble, and then when they came back from the bubble, he was fucking terrible.
Oh, he was awful in the bubble.
And I know me and you talked about it when we did that Western Division thing, but it was, you said, what Binnington are we going to get? Is it the Binnington of 2020 or is it the Binnington of that Stanley Cup run? And it appears that the Binnington of last year is the real Jordan Binnington.
Yeah.
Kind of a hothead, going to give up some really shitty goals.
Now I'm
and
just
that's
pissed that we didn't get him in the Cup final. I want this Binnington 2 years ago.
because Boston sports fans are so deprived of a championship.
Well, hey, if their goalies were playing like they are this year in that series, you might have got this Binnington, but maybe he would have been backed up by this year's Jake Allen.
Right.
True.
Yeah, I don't know, man. When you answer so cocky, do I look nervous? You're setting yourself up for everyone to take joy in you being absolutely fucking rattled against a not good Sharks team.
No, pretty fucking bad Sharks team.
There's a lot of like, oh, he's sparking his team. No, he's not. He's throwing a fucking tantrum.
He threw, and that is what it was. It was that he threw a tantrum.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. I mean, not for me. I found it hilarious, but yeah,
it's funny.
It's embarrassing for him
and
St. Louis in general.
I don't know, man. I think people like a lot of people still kind of like the Blues because people haven't gotten over that whole underdog thing that they had going for them. But I don't know, man. No one would be when Tim Thomas did this shit. Like people weren't saying, "Oh, he's sparking his team."
No, they called him a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they turned out to be right. They turned out to be right.
Yeah. Well, Binnington doesn't have a bunker to hide away in afterwards.
Not yet.
Guess what, guys? That's 2 weeks of Tim Thomas jokes. 2 straight weeks of Tim Thomas
That's
jokes.
3.
I missed
that
them?
is 3. You've missed. We're at 3 straight weeks of Tim Thomas.
To be
jokes.
fair, though, the bridge week, the second week, was just kind of joking about the Tim Thomas joke from the week before.
Okay. Well, hey, he was brought up. That's all that matters to me.
We're hitting our quotas early this episode.
Yeah,
Teddy
we talked
Bluger.
about Tom Wilson.
Speaking of quotas, Tony D'Angelo trying to get loaned to an AHL.
Hold on. Let me find the full story here.
We don't need to find the story.
No,
he wants to be loaned out to an AHL team so he can continue playing. The Rangers said his agent will have to find him an AHL team willing to take him because he's not welcome to Rangers affiliate Hartford.
So he's just in limbo right now.
Dude, AHL teams don't want him. Do you know how, like, hate the guy as much as we do you know how much he could dominate in the AHL and he's still having trouble finding a place?
Again, it's like
maybe you're wrong, dude.
like we said, it's not like he's a bad player who's a racist. He's a good player who's just a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, he's a defensive liability, but there's, I watch fucking Chris Letang every other night. And love the guy. We'll get into Letang, actually. I have a few points on him when we get to our Homer roundups at the end. We haven't done those in a while, really.
No, we can real quick here. I'm just going to rattle off some milestone-y stuff real quick.
Yeah.
Patrick Kane hit his 400th NHL goal this week, and that put him exactly at number 100 all time.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Which is, cool. And then people started calling, my favorite part about this is people started calling him the greatest North American goal scorer of all time when Mike Modano is still alive and kicking.
Wait, you mean American, not North American, right?
Sorry, American,
Okay.
American, yes.
I was going to say,
they call him the greatest American goal scorer of all time. And I'm like, Mike Modano is literally sitting in the Wild front office right now. Like,
it took Crosby less games, I'm going to say that. And Crosby is
not
not the
American.
goal scorer that Patrick Kane gets billed as.
no, exactly.
I
was talking strictly American.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was just pointing out, especially because I was there for Crosby's 400th with Trent.
Mm-hmm.
I think I realized he had
time.
scored his 400th goal before Crosby realized it.
I think Crosby realized that. I think it was before everybody else.
Yeah.
Sick invite, guys. Thanks for that.
Dude, this was like 4 years ago, man.
I know.
It was about 3 years ago. It was late March. Because remember, we had to
Yeah.
drive through a blizzard that as we got further south ended. Like, it went from like, we left at like 5 in the morning, and the roads
It
were
was
so bad
hella
I couldn't
early.
get up to 50, like on the highway. I was starting to worry if we were going to make it in time, and then suddenly it was just sun and the roads were clear once we got into Missouri.
And then as soon as we drove back, all the snow was gone.
And I didn't know because I passed the fuck out for that drive home.
Yeah.
Where did you guys go?
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Oh, okay. I was like trying to picture. I'm like, Iowa down to Missouri. What the fuck? Because I thought you guys were like gone to Chicago or something. But St.
No.
Louis makes sense.
Missouri wasn't a giveaway.
Pay for.
That's what I'm
wouldn't pay a
saying. I was
fucking
like,
ticket to
what
Chicago.
the fuck?
Yeah, St. Louis is worth the extra hour of driving for how much money you save not spending a night in Chicago.
Yeah, I would agree with that. What else we got? Keith Yandel played his 1,000th game today, and also that happens to be his 890th consecutive game.
Ridiculous.
Handle go
That
hard.
is, yeah. Yandel goes hard. Also,
And he
before
was
we
going
get
to be a
into
healthy
Wait, do we
scratch.
got Backstrom's 700th assist?
nope, I forgot. I'm looking at the story right now because I was about to bring it up, but I didn't write it down.
I believe that was the same game as the Wilson on Carlo hit. Either that
It
or it was
was.
the same game as Ovechkin spearing Frederick.
It was the same
Pretty
game
sure-
as Ovechkin spearing
Yeah.
Frederick.
Yeah.
Also, would like to note that Jeff Skinner broke his year-long goalless streak today.
That wasn't even a good goal for him, though.
No.
Oh, by the way, today was back to Patrick Kane quick. Today was his 999th game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's number 100. He's going to hit his 1,000th game. It's a perfect time to retire.
Yeah. That's...
Um,
God damn it. Stop trying to
Every
make
fucking
Kane
time.
retiring happen.
It's going to happen. Not because of me, but
what else we got?
Trent's not even
You
going to
got-
bring up Marchand's 300th goal?
he hasn't gotten it yet.
I thought he did. I thought I saw
He's
it.
at 299.
Yeah, he's at 299.
Oh, okay. Did he have one that, like, the credit was given to him at first and then got taken to someone else?
Of probably throughout his career, yeah.
Because it was before we recorded last. I thought, like, that I saw something from before we recorded last week about him hitting 300.
No, it's
No,
probably
he's close.
Oh, okay.
300, probably his 300th NHL penalty or some dumb shit like that.
That
It's 300th
was a long
foot.
time ago.
300th knee to knee. I hate to bring up Buffalo, but is it time to just implode that whole thing?
What are you talking about?
It's
Jeff
not
Skinner
imploded
just
already?
started scoring. Taylor Hall got his second goal. Jeff Skinner got his first.
They also blew a They blew a 3-0 lead to lose 6-3.
That was the Blackhawks there, bud, not the Sabres.
Oh no, it was 5-2. I apologize.
Yeah, the Sabres did get wrecked by the Islanders today.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they did. Yes,
Yeah.
they did. But no, I'm more bringing it up because we talked about it last week, Eichel being traded. But I think the first time, I know we talked about it a little bit, but I feel like this week I just saw the whole, like, just fucking blow it up a lot more than I had over the past week, where this thing just needs to be done.
I
But
did
Taylor
read
Hall
that,
just wanted to
they're-
win.
What's up?
But Taylor Hall just wanted to win.
If you put that on the Mount Rushmore of dumbass things to say, of like all-time NHL like stupidity,
That's
that's got to
be.
be so high.
It's on the Mount Rushmore.
Dude, you know what, though?
Oh.
Finally, Adam Larson is looking
Dude,
better
Adam
than
Larson.
Taylor Hall. Right
Oh,
about now,
jeez.
he's playing at about a level where actually I don't think I'd give Larson up for this Taylor Hall.
No.
We
Damn.
talked about it last week or the week before. The thing, like, last year they were saying he was having a bad year, but he really wasn't playing that bad. Just, I'd like to see Taylor Hall on a good fucking team just once.
That's what we've always said. We said that last week. I think people have said that for the last year and a half. It's like, just put him on a good team.
The thing is, like, who can take him right now? Boston
Not many.
is the only team
No.
that makes any sense to me.
The only reason that it would make sense is because of the personnel. They don't have the cap space for it.
Yeah. Well, that and a
I mean,
lot
unless
of what
they,
you want out of Taylor Hall. I mean, you got Craig Anderson. I don't know why I brain farted there so bad. But I mean, that's a lot of the quality. He's when Hall's at his best. Well, by reputation, you'd call him a poor man's Taylor Hall, but I mean, actually on the ice, I don't know. I think I've seen more. Craig Smith, not Anderson.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait, what?
I was waiting for him to realize.
I almost said Wilson Smith. I don't know, man. He clearly came to the NHL through witness protection. Craig Smith.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely shoots the puck a lot more than Taylor Hall. That's for damn sure. I have never seen somebody shoot the puck so many times in my life. This dude, he gets the puck and it's going towards the net. It might not be on net, but it's going near it.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think, and he's not doing great in Boston or anything, but I think a lot of the things that you'd be looking for in Taylor Hall, you got that player.
Yeah, completely, and he's fitting into the system really well.
Yeah, nothing. 4 goals, 5 assists in 20 games, not great. A +3
No,
though.
but he's also playing
probably
third
a better
line.
defensive player than Hall.
Yeah,
Yeah,
his Corsi's insane though.
yeah. Well, yeah, when he's shooting the puck, like Duncan Keith saying he's
All over
taking
the
more
place. He's
shots to get
shooting
that Corsi up.
He's shooting it like in basketball. You go behind the net and then you shoot on top of it. I've seen him take that shot this year.
You know what? His Corsi 4 is actually down from his career total this year.
That doesn't really surprise me. He hasn't been very good on second chances.
I mean, it's only down by 0.9%. His offensive zone starts is actually down 3.4% from his career numbers. So he's playing in a reduced role and still a pretty damn good player. Yeah. And actually, it looks like his points per game is actually up. Just obviously not the goals per game. But, I mean, I don't know, man. I see Craig Smith as a really underrated player who's eventually going to click for you guys, especially come late in the year when guys like that, if they don't get worn down, can wear down other teams.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you're right. Probably not even Boston. But that's the thing, that was the thing with Taylor Hall signing in Buffalo is maybe he can push that team into finally being a playoff team. If not, he can get traded to a contender. I don't think any contender right now is looking at what Taylor Hall's doing and thinking yeah, we got to rent that. Let's give something up for that.
Yeah, there's nobody. I mean, even you couldn't get a bottom feeder right now to even take them because they're in the mode where it's like we're done.
Well, no one did it last year.
Exactly, and that's the problem. And I think that's the other thing is we make fun of the fact that he said, "I'm coming here to win." Well, you're not coming there to win. You're coming there because it's the only fucking team that would take a contract with you. So
I could see him going back to New Jersey.
No chance. No chance.
No?
No. I think that ship has sailed.
Maybe it's his fault Quinn Hughes wasn't any good last year.
Jack
Hughes, yeah. Yeah, Quinn Hughes was no good last year. God, I can't get a fucking name straight tonight.
No.
Thanks for carrying me, boys.
Need a beer.
Yeah. Let's jump into the Homertown stuff. We covered the Bruins a little bit, but Trent, give us a quick update. Where the Bruins sitting right now?
Right now it's still 0-0. No, I mean, I really have no problems with the way that they're playing. Carlo being out's going to hurt the back end. All of the young guys that they have coming up, like for the defensemen, have been filling in roles. They're playing fairly decent. I mean, they're not going to the Hall of Fame as of right now, but they're playing pretty solid. But the injuries on the back end are just killing us right now. If we could have our starting six from the beginning of the year, I think that they would take off. There wouldn't be any chance that any team in the East could beat them. Just the way that they're playing right now.
Yeah, would agree with that. And it also is nice to have. Looked like Tuukka's playing really well right now. Obviously, I'm just watching this game, but still, like, it seems. Oh fuck! It seems like
Tuukka's playing well. Halak's playing really well. Kevin Miller's set to come back, I think, next week. Took like a couple weeks off for his knee.
Yeah, they're a good team.
Where is my eventual first round pick, Pittsburgh Penguins, sitting?
You know, I'll say this about the Penguins. They're not far out of a playoff spot. Granted, most of the teams right ahead of them not only have more points, but less games played. We still have a lot of games against Buffalo and New Jersey coming. A few against the Rangers.
New Jersey's playing pretty well.
If you look at our schedule for the rest of the season, yes, there's still quite a bit of Boston left in it. And still 3 games against the Flyers, who we're 2-3 against. But if you look at the Penguins' schedule coming up to finish this season out, they have a good chance of really racking up points at the end. And when you look at where they are right now, they're on pace where with an 82-game season, they'd be on pace for like 93, 94 points. And that puts them in 5th place in this division right now, which shows how tough this division is. And a big part of their problem is they don't ever fucking lose in overtime. They're winning games as much as anyone, but they're not getting to overtime for those losses.
Me and you have talked about that. You said that's the big problem, is that the games that they're in, they're not getting points out of.
No. And they're giving points to other teams when they win. And that's the thing. A lot of those overtime losses that those teams ahead of us have are against us. It's as we get to close to the halfway mark, you're starting to see what I've been saying. Like, this isn't like when like when we'd go on the California tour and be able to say a win's a win, because who gives a shit if a team gets a loser point over in the Pacific? All intra-divisional play, it's not good, and it's killing us already. But they do have a soft schedule coming up. But then the Jason Zucker injury is a killer.
Which I didn't watched a little bit more of the Pens since that injury has happened. I didn't think his absence would be as noticeable as it had. I wouldn't say noticeable, but it's definitely something where you're like, okay, the line he would normally be on seems to be missing something.
It's weird seeing the Penguins be a team that's needing to buckle down a little bit on defense to win games, because we can't win track meets with teams and just run up the score and go goal for goal with teams anymore. It's just the same thing. There's a lot of good things about this team. There's really no one player on my shit list right now. Over the last couple weeks, they've played decent hockey, but then every time I start to think it's okay to believe in them a little bit, they play like they played against the Islanders last week, where if not for an outstanding game from Casey DeSmith, that 2-0 loss gets just fucking out of hand. I've never seen such an ugly 2-0 loss. DeSmith played amazing, but the team was just... That's the thing, like, the Penguins now, it's not so much guys playing great and other guys blowing it. as it is just the whole team shows up or the whole team doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking a lot better, and they're not playing the worst hockey. But again, they're letting teams get overtime points against them. They're not getting overtime points in any of their losses. And then they just have their nights where the whole team looks like absolute shit. But Tristan Jarry's looking good. He's looking like
Yeah.
a little bit more like as advertised for us. Yeah, the Penguins, I'd say the jury's kind of out on them. And a lot of that, too, a lot of their season is going to be dictated by things beyond their control at this point. Even if they do start getting those wins in regulation and getting those overtime losses, they might have already done a lot of damage getting only like 2 or 3 regulation wins in the first like month and a half of the year of the season. So,
For sure.
Yeah. I could see this team turning around and being great. I could see them missing the playoffs because of damage already done.
It's helpful that Yari's starting to come around too. Like we've talked about that, where it's like if Yari doesn't start to play as well as he's been playing the last 2 weeks, that's a big issue. That's an even bigger issue.
Well, you look at his last 5 games. He had a .909 against Washington. I mean, 3 of his last 5 games, he's had a below 900 save percentage.
Trent, did they score?
Yes.
Did you not hear him go, I'm gonna fucking...
Oh, no.
Yeah, Tristan Jarry, I guess he is on a little bit of a downslide here again. His last 5 game save percentages, a .909, an .889, a .952, and then an .886 and an .864. So, I don't know, man.
Depends on the game.
Yeah. But that game that we won yesterday against Philly, only 22 shots on goal for the Flyers. So that's what I mean. They have their moments where I don't know, man. I could see anything out of this team the same way it's always been this whole season. But It's trending toward more and more towards as the season wears on. You don't want to be the team on the bubble looking in while the teams ahead of you have less games played. You don't want to have to root for Philly to lose games in regulation to keep you in the chase.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, I'd say negative.
All right, cool. I really don't have much to say about the Wild. March is going to suck for them, considering their next 10 games they play over the next 18 days just because of their COVID outbreak and how they had to reschedule. And it's been a grind even the last week. They finished up a series on the road against the Coyotes where they just had nothing left in the tank after the first period. So that's a little concerning. We've talked about this where I feel like the Wild are overachieving in a sense that I didn't think of them being the third place team in this division right now. Because that's kind of where they sit. They're fighting to be a third place team instead of fighting to be a fourth place team, which even that is, I would say, overachieving for this team in a sense. Capo Kakkonen has clearly established himself as potentially somebody who should be the number 1 goaltender over Cam Talbot right now. Capo's playing out of his mind. I don't have the stats in front of me because I completely forgot to look them up. But, he's...
Classic Homertown hockey fashion.
Yeah. But he's playing really well right now for a guy that a lot of people didn't think he would get a run this year. And then he plays so well that Alex Stalock gets put on waivers and ends up in Edmonton, which thanks Al, but you lost your job because like I had talked about, they finally gave the kid a chance and he's playing really, really well. And that's been awesome for this team because they've needed a legitimate sense of consistency in net that Dubnyk and or Talbot never has really given them.
Imagine your
So
goaltending situation being so bad that you pick up Alex Stalock off waivers almost at the halfway point. The fucking Oilers, dude.
a dude who and he's a dude who hasn't played all season because he's coming off long-term COVID issues. Like he failed a physical twice. So, I mean, thanks Al for everything, but you lost your job because the kid was ready and he proved he was ready. The big storyline right now is surrounding Zach Parise. He was a healthy scratch on Wednesday after a game against the Knights where he missed a line change trying to get Marcus Foligno a hat trick goal and ended up spending 1:33 out on the ice. Ended up leading to an Alex Tuck game tying goal that then ended up leading to the Wild losing the game. So Dean Evason finally had the balls to do something that I don't think Bruce Boudreau or Mike Yeo really ever had the balls to do, and was sit him down. And it seemed like Parise was pretty fucking upset by it. Internally, that's the sounds of it, is that he was kind of like, I understand why you're doing it, but I'm not, like, he didn't say like, oh, I'm Zach Parise, do you know who I am? But it was something along the lines of like, why? I get that I fucked up, but why? And it, more or less, he's got 3 goals and 9 points this season. He's not exactly lighting up the world. I think his phone just fell.
It did. It just straight up fell straight forward.
It's not like he's healthy scratching a dude who's playing really well right now because he missed a line change. He's not playing great. Like, it hasn't been great, and he played better against Arizona both nights, and it is an interesting situation, and I'm kind of thinking that I don't think either of them play out the end of that 13-year contract, but I think Parise would be the first one to go because he already waived a no trade once last year to the Islanders, and then the deal fell apart. So,
well, and I'm pretty sure the reason the deal fell apart is that Lou Lamoriello thing, where if a trade leaks before it goes through, he will shut it down because he's weird.
There was rumors of that, and there's also rumors that potentially the Wild had also inquired about including Anders Lee in that deal.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's just rumors. No part of that deal has ever been confirmed. Like, I've heard that they were going to get Cal Clutterbuck back. I've heard there's been a ton of rumors surrounding what that Islanders trade would have been. If you ask certain people in the community, it would have been Matt Barzal, but I think that's just one person.
Oh, okay. I see what you did there.
Inside joke. I know, man. They have a really tough slog of games coming up too, which sucks because of COVID. Like I said, they have 10 games in the next 18 days. It's going to be a grind for them to get the season in. It helps when you have the Calder Cup winning player on your team who just night in, night out is ready to go, doesn't miss a beat, makes fucking ridiculous plays.
That no look behind the back pass
is one of the
Nick
dirty.
Bjugstad.
It was one of the most ridiculous, like, just insanity that he connected on that pass.
Yeah. It's not often that you see a play where we're talking about a highlight reel pass like that. I mean, you see nice passes. Usually it's Mitch Marner that makes them when someone makes a big deal out of a pass. But this was just... It was insane.
I mean, how many nights have you gone on social media and seen a Wild highlight lately? Yeah. And it's always Kaprizov.
Well, and like I said, after, his first week, leading up to that pass, that thing I was saying where you see it from some of the really skilled players that come from Russia, where they're able to skate around the perimeter as though they have the space of Russian ice. And he is he's still doing that, even though everyone knows he likes to do it. The teams can't take it away from him, and if they do, he does something else.
Mm-hmm.
He's a special player, and
he's creative, and it's for a franchise like mine that's they're celebrating their 20th anniversary, but in the terms of the NHL, they're a young team. But like, Marian Gaborik was very special for this franchise at the beginning of his career. He will have a better career than Marian Gaborik.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
some strong words.
Stanley Cups is yet to be decided.
That's yet to be decided, and cross that. And I'm talking in terms of playing in a Wild sweater
as an individual player. Absolutely,
as an individual player on an individual team. The things he could do for this team, I think, are things that Marian Gaborik could never do. Because I also don't think, outside of the division-winning team in 2007, none of the teams around Gaborik were anywhere near as good as this team is.
So I have two questions. First, I'll stay with Kaprizov. I have an opinion on this, but I want yours. What do you say about the people that have the opinion of you see the way that Kaprizov is playing right now and wonder why they waited so long to call him up?
I know exactly why they waited so long to call him up.
I think what you're seeing is exactly why they waited.
No,
and why Russia's, you look at those teams leading up to this, they were more than a Kaprizov away from playing at this level.
They were, I would say, the team 2 years ago. If he's on this team 2 years ago, oof.
Demoralizing.
Possibly
you're looking at a kid who already wants out by now.
Right.
And he would, the more time he had in the KHL, the more he developed, maybe 2 years ago, you don't get this level out of him. For a team that's not going to fucking win anyway.
And granted, if I will say this, there have been 3 different GM regimes in his time as a Wild prospect, from Fletcher to Fenton to Billy Guerin.
I don't know if you can really count Fenton, but yeah.
Made trades. Yeah. Blew up a core. I personally think that they have seen the mistake other teams and other franchises, not even in this state, but across the NHL, have made with certain prospects and how fast they do start them or bring them overseas. And so yeah, I mean, also, can we also talk about how fucking ridiculous it is that Pierre LeBrun's going to go after the kid for basically saying, like, he's not a true rookie? Like, go fuck yourself, dude.
That shit is so stupid. And when people say that the NHL shouldn't consider them rookies, like,
for a Calder, yeah, when he clearly is he is the top Calder candidate, but then to say, like, well, should he technically be considered because he has 3 years of professional? He's a rookie to the NHL.
Yeah.
Didn't Austin Matthews win Rookie of the Year?
Yeah.
Yeah, he played overseas.
Well, I mean, not as long. And the other arguments are Panarin. Didn't Madonna have a situation like that? The thing when people wonder why the NHL still makes them eligible, it's the same way, I'm applying for a union welding apprenticeship, and they don't give a shit if you've already been a welder. They value their own training, and if they knock years off of your apprenticeship for work that you did outside of the union, that delegitimizes their training. It's no different with the NHL. If they acknowledge time spent in an inferior league as being equal to now you're not an NHL rookie, they delegitimize themselves in their claim that they are the highest level of hockey.
Look at baseball.
That's one of the best arguments you've ever made, Phil.
Well, I mean, look at baseball. Baseball has a minor league system, but it's still considered professional baseball.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's still considered professional baseball, and guys that go through that ladder come to the MLB at 22, 23, 24. Unless you're coming from the DR or from South American country, it's super rare to see. It is truly very rare to see a 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old. And well, you're never going to see a 16-year-old or 17-year-old, but to see a 18, 19-year-old MLB player. The last one I can
in
think of
the summer
off
of
the top of my head.
2013, I watched a fresh out of high school Carlos Correa dominate for the Quad City River Bandits.
Right, right. Or the last teenager I can think of is Juan Soto. And guess what? That summer, or not even that summer, that fall he played in Washington did not count as professional time.
Yeah.
Same way it doesn't count. Same way it doesn't count in the MLB or in the NHL.
It's just
So
he played professional hockey, but it wasn't NHL level professional because there is no NHL level professional hockey.
It was in an inferior league, and for a guy like Pierre LeBrun to try to delegitimize, and part of it is, it's my thing is that I feel like a lot of hockey writers want to delegitimize the Wild for not having sustained success in a state that like lives, breathes, and dies hockey. And you can say what you want about that. To put the name of State of Hockey on yourself and then not have a Stanley Cup for two franchises is a bit of a bad look.
Oh, they came close once.
Yeah, but you guys beat us, and then we moved. It's just it's thoroughly annoying but it also is somewhat uplifting to see a lot of other national writers basically kind of be like, if you're not watching Wild hockey, you're missing out on one of the best young players in the NHL. And that was the same shit that was happening to Edmonton when McDavid was starting to explode. Toronto when Matthews came in, but then you're going to treat those guys the same way because they went through your process. But then a guy who, also let's remember, he couldn't technically legally leave Russia.
Yeah. Well,
like
that's what it comes down to too.
Right.
Like he's Russian.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If his name's Carl Kaspers from Ontario, they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
With 5 years of AHL experience before he comes up.
Right. Yeah, man, it's fucking ridiculous. Also, let's look at it this way. Nico Sturm scored a goal last year in the bubble. But guess what? Technically, didn't get his first NHL goal until this year because of the way the NHL ranks that stuff and rates that stuff for a player. So you're delegitimizing your whole system by one thing of saying like, well, technically this guy's not a rookie.
All right, so I actually have two more questions.
Okay, if you're gonna bring up the
Stützle there wasn't a whole lot to do with the Wild today.
If I'm gonna bring up what?
The fact that Timmy Stützle got named fucking player of the month because he had one more point and 6 more games played.
I don't give a shit about that.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck about player of the month?
But it's like, but it's rookie of the month, and everybody's like, well, this dude's a Calder, and then he's not even, whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah, at the end of his career, he's not going to be looking back thinking like,
no.
Like people aren't going to be like in the great debate if it comes down to a debate between Stützle and Kaprizov late in their careers. No one's going to be yeah, but you remember February of 2021?
For sure. Okay.
No, how are you liking Kalen Addison? And say the Penguins end up making the playoffs and that pick is something special. Do you wish Fenton had gotten the deal done for Kessel instead?
Okay, so
I know that one can't completely be answered yet because you don't know what the pick is, but
Kalen Addison played 4 games, 3-4 games, and that kid is. You want to talk about players that are close to being NHL ready? He's almost there. Like, he didn't make a lot of mistakes. He looked super smooth. There was never a deer in the headlights moment in the 3 games he played. There were a couple times where maybe he could have pushed the pace a little bit, and I don't think he's as fast as I thought he was, but he's a very solid player. He's pretty smart. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of flaws to his game other than his size, and that's always been the knock on him. But I clearly the Wild don't care about undersized defensemen with the fact that you have Matt Dumba and Jared Spurgeon in your decor. So, no, I really, really liked Kalen Addison this time up here. And the second part was, what did it have to do with Fenton?
Would you have preferred if Fenton
Kessel
could have
deal.
gotten the deal done for Kessel? I mean, I guess it is pretty early to ask that.
Here will always be my thing about the Kessel deal. It was always going to involve Zucker, and it was very obvious because there were 3 separate trades for Zucker that fell apart, and the super obvious one is the Kessel deal. There was a deadline day trade to Calgary that fell apart, and then like literally with 20 minutes before the deadline it fell apart. Then there was an Arizona deal that fell apart. Anyways, my thing with the Kessel deal was that he wouldn't have wanted to be here in any way because there's some weird beef with him, Parisi, and Suter, or him and Suter, or some combination of those 3. So, yeah, would you have made a trade for Phil Kessel? Maybe. Like, yeah, absolutely. I think at that point in time, you trade for Phil Kessel, but also he wouldn't have wanted to be here in any way, shape, or form. And that guy is already an effort guy where you're just kind of like, what kind of effort are you going to get from Phil Kessel on a nightly basis?
Yeah, that's the main thing with Kessel. You guys don't have Rick Tocchet as your coach.
Bingo. I do think Bruce could have gotten something out of him at the time, though. I think if there's, Bruce is in a way like Rick Tocchet in that aspect, but also like, I don't know. I already don't have good feelings towards Paul Fenton because he fucking exploded a core that maybe outside of Mikhail Granlund didn't need to be moved. You can make a case that Charlie Coyle needed to be moved, but I don't think Niederreiter needed to be moved. I don't think Zucker needed to. Well, technically that trade was made by Guerin, but we all knew that Fenton wanted to move Zucker, and there was other pieces allegedly that he wanted to move too. And I, to be honest with you, don't truly understand some of the moves he made. The Fiala deal was the right deal. In hindsight, was the right deal to make. Because Fiala for Granlund is looking like the dumbest trade in Predators history. And but the Victor Rask thing doesn't look good on paper. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah,
So,
but you can imagine the barbecues with Boudreaux and Kessel.
yeah, that'd be legendary. It'd be stuff of legends. But it is too early, but man. I don't know. Like, that's the problem is I don't know. Like, that's a very hard question to ask right now without sounding like I'm slamming Fenton for being a fucking idiot.
All right, and then the last thing, and man, we are talking about the Wild a lot lately. As far as your take that this could
because
be...
you guys never thought about the Wild until I got here.
Well, they've never been good
fair.
like this,
Yeah.
Like, other than, like, a hot start that won't last, and this actually looks like it could be sustainable, unlike other times where they've been hot. Mm-hmm. But the last thing is, you saying that Parise, you think his time in Minnesota is coming to an end. Who the fuck's taking that contract?
That's the problem. That's the number one question, because clearly the Islanders will.
The Islanders made that trade, were willing to make that trade before a cap freeze, though.
Right. So
even a buyout is a disaster.
The buyout is a nightmare.
The only thing you really have going in that deal, if someone's willing to take him, is the actual money paid out after next season. This season, his actual salary is $8 million.
Mm-hmm.
Next year it's
Which is
6. After that, it goes down to 2, 1, and 1 for the 3 final years.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you can find a team at the cap floor, you know, with
I'd have to just retain salary.
They will. They'll have to eat some salary, but
but it's set, over 7.5 million. I mean, I guess other than this year though, he is still a consistent 20-goal scorer.
Yeah, and that
I guess
exactly.
it's doable, but I mean, I think you'd have to retain like a third of the salary, which is 2.5 million dead cap space.
Yeah.
Although, granted, hold on a second.
Holy shit! The Rangers already scored.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
no, and this is the last year of Kaprizov's ELC, so you're not necessarily gonna cancel that out with an underpaid Kaprizov.
Exactly. Okay. Here's how I'll look at the Zach situation. There are 2 questions surrounding Zach. Does he want to be here, but the team understands the financial situation that they're going to be in down the road, and potentially you're just going to move him? Well, okay, make it 3 possibilities. The team wants him here, he wants to be here, but the coaching staff doesn't. Like, front office wants him here, Zach wants to be here, but the new coaching staff in Dean Evison doesn't have a spot for him in his vision of this team. And then, does the team and the coach want him here, or does Zach not want to be here anymore? Because he came here to win, and they have 4 first round exits under him and 1 second round exit so far in a decade or so.
You know what, honestly, I thought that his games missed per year was a lot worse than it's been over the years.
And that's the thing, he doesn't miss games.
Yeah.
He plays
had that
a ton
one
of games.
season where he missed 40 games. Other than that, he misses up to 15 a year, but so do a lot of good players. That contract's not as bad as I thought, other than the fact that it runs until he's 39 fucking years old.
Exactly. And
yeah, he is a much better value than I thought.
He's a good value. And again, like I said way earlier in the episode, at the time of that contract, the Wild needed a player like Zach, and the only way it was going to get done was a long-term deal with Ryan Suter attached to it. And at that point, he's coming off a Stanley Cup run where if he doesn't run into a really hot Jonathan Quick, 1, he probably has a Stanley Cup, and 2, he never leaves New Jersey.
Okay, you were talking about with the Devil. I thought, okay.
Yeah.
When you said he probably has a Stanley Cup, that should have clicked to me sooner than it did.
Yeah, because that was that offseason after the Devils went to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. I was looking at numbers and kind of missed that you were talking about how he came to Minnesota, and I was like, which year are you thinking that Jonathan Quick was what stood between the Wild and a Stanley Cup?
No. That was 4 straight years of Corey Crawford in the first round. No, and he did come here to win. Like, let's not make any bones about it. I think he felt that at the time this team gave him a better shot to win right now than the Devils did. And there were a couple seasons where that was accurate. But in the end, they ended up just being a mediocre team, and that's all they've ever been. And I find it really hard to defend a guy and say, not defend, I find it really hard to slam a guy for being unhappy with being mediocre at his age.
Yeah.
And it's got to be really hard playing at home in the relative shadow of your dad.
Well, and especially to have had such a promising start to his career. I mean, that year that him and Suter both came to the Wild, that was, on par. That was like hockey's version of the Heat getting D-Wade or Bosch
D-Wade and LeBron.
It was the same summer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it was like hockey's equivalent of that. Those were the 2 free agents, and people were really upset about the Wild getting both of them.
And it was and the other reason they were upset was because Zach and Ryan had made a deal to come to wherever they were going together.
Yeah, and that was another one of the parallels with the LeBron and Bosch thing.
But yeah, and also I will say this about Zach: he has not been the same since his dad died.
Yeah.
He has not been the same player. There's definitely, I don't want to say an attitude change, but there's definitely been. He has come away from the media. He has kind of been. Um, I don't know how much Crosby gives access, but I don't ever see Crosby talking too much to the media.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a rare thing for you guys, but like,
Crosby talks to the media plenty, but it's never
and
anything
that's
substantial.
yeah, that's
It's
kind of
not
Zach.
anything that's gonna go viral.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of Zach, but I feel like definitely each year it's a lot more the younger guys you see, like Dumba. Dumba has completely taken over the mantle of being like the face of the Wild, where for that first 5 years of the Parisi contract, it was Zach that was the face of that team.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I
No,
don't
there's
know.
nothing
Want to do
about
least?
his downfall, quote unquote, for lack of a better term, that you can really hold against him.
He's just getting old, man. Like that's my
Yeah.
thing. He's just getting old, and like I said, I don't think he's ever been the same since his dad died, and that's really hard to blame a guy who lost his best friend,
Yeah.
and it clearly affected him the next night that he had to play. He could barely play because he was wiping tears away from his eyes, and he's never really been the same. You also have to think too. He's gone through Mike Yo, Torchetti, Todd Richards, Bruce Boudreau, Dean Evans. Like he's had a lot of change here. That roster has completely turned over 4 times since he's been there. Really the only people that have been there since he's been there are Spurgeon and Ryan.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I think hockey more than other sports, like,
has giant roster turnover.
no, I was going to say the whole thing with losing your dad, because of so much of hockey as a kid, especially for an American player, involves those, long trips to rinks and stuff. That relationship with with between players and their dads tends to be so much more related to the game, where it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot harder, I would imagine, to push it out of mind and play when you got into this game having hours long rides to the rink with your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah. So it's it's also been interesting to see a guy to have for this franchise to have a guy at the level that Parisi was at. To I think you rarely see a guy his downfall come really with one team, because when he came here, his first 3 years he was at the top of he was a 30 goal scorer his first 4 years or some crazy shit like that.
well, yeah, his first year 18, but that was the 48 game season. So
Yep.
at that
Yeah.
pace, probably would have hit 30, and 29,
Yeah.
33, 25 the year after that. Then
Yeah.
2 years of it dropping to 19, and even that there's a 15 there, but that's the 42 game season.
Yep.
And then right
Yeah.
back up 28, 25, and not great this year. There's
Yeah.
not as much of a drop off as honestly I had thought. I don't look at Zach Parise's numbers honestly.
No, and
The more I'm looking at it, it seems like he definitely catches more flack than he really should.
it's a hockey market that was told this guy was going to change this narrative around the team, and then the narrative never changed.
Yeah.
It's hard to do with you have so much turnover though. There's no
Right.
consistency. You have no chemistry with anybody. It's hard to build a sustainable team like that.
Yeah. Do you want to go into least best?
We're running at about an hour 35. Do we want to do it quick?
Yeah, let's just wrap it up real
All
quick.
right. So yeah, by the way, I listened to Puck Soup. I'm fully aware they do this, but we did it last week and we had a lot of fun doing it. So we're going to do another overrated, underrated. And this week's topic is going to be Adam Sandler movies. Because me and Colt end up
not?
referencing Adam Sandler movies over the
All
phone
the time.
all the fucking time. So I called him the other day and I just go, I got it. As soon as he picks up, he's like, oh God, what is it? So let's start
Trent.
out. Trent, this is your first one. What do we want to
Yeah.
start out? Favorite, least favorite, overrated, or underrated?
I think you guys are gonna disagree with my least favorite the most.
Let's
Okay.
start out.
Well-
Let's start out with favorite, and then we'll do
Okay.
that's the positive, and then least favorite and overrated or more negative,
Mhm.
and then we end it with underrated on a positive. So let's
All right.
start
Okay.
out with favorite. So go ahead, Trent.
Okay. Did he just mute his own mic?
Yeah, I don't know.
he muted his own mic.
I don't know why. I like the concept of it.
Trent, you muted yourself.
Did I really?
Yeah,
How did
we
I do
didn't
that?
hear your answer at all.
Ha!
You completely muted yourself.
I don't know how that happened because I didn't press the button. Whatever. Okay. Round 2. Click.
Is your
As your
favorite?
favorite?
Oh my god, I don't know what's happening. He's muted again.
All right, his favorite's Click.
I'm just waiting because I can tell he's saying something. So in a minute, we're gonna hear him wrap it up. I don't know what's happening.
You can hear him unmute the mic.
Trent,
Trent, buddy.
should I cut or should we leave this? His
Oh, he
camera's
turned
off.
his camera off. Let's cut it and then restart the call.
Okay.
Literally every time you started to tell us about your favorite movie, the CIA muted you.
All right, I hit record again.
I wouldn't
Trent, one
I
more
mean, I
time.
wouldn't-
What's your favorite Adam Sandler movie?
click.
And,
quick,
and why is that?
why?
I love the concept of it. I think that kind of, I don't know. It's more of a serious movie, less comedic. But I think that was one of Adam Sandler's best acting roles
For sure.
I remember
as an
the one.
actor, not as a comedian.
I don't like that movie that much, but the one time that I watched it with my buddy Murph. We used to just always hang out, drink, and watch Adam Sandler movies. And we went through a whole winter where all we did was get drunk and quote Adam Sandler. And we're watching that, and it's a real sad movie. And at one point, like, I'm feeling real sad. I kind of turned to Murph. I'm like, "Hey, man, this movie bothering you at all?" And he's just like, "Yeah, dude." So we're just sitting around drinking like a fifth of Kessler and a 30 rack of Busch Light, fucking like tearing up and watching Click.
Gangster.
Super
my favorite-
gangster. Colt,
favorite
what's your
comedic-
favorite?
My favorite's Happy Gilmore, and it's really not even close.
Yeah. Trent's gone. He'll be back. I gotta say, I'm surprised that Trent didn't pick the movie where he's wearing a Bruins jersey half the time.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, I was just saying, Trent's back. I was just saying, I thought you would have picked Happy Gilmore if for no other reason than that he wears a Bruins jersey half the movie.
That was, I mean, I feel like that would have been too cliche of an answer.
I mean, but it's not a hockey movie; it's a golf movie, and I don't know. There's so many quotable moments, and it's his kind of breakout movie. You can say Billy Madison or whatever. You can even say SNL, but like the movie that really exploded his stardom is Happy Gilmore.
I mean, Billy Madison came first.
Yeah, because Madison's 95 and 97,
97,
96.
98-ish, yeah.
I think it's even like 96.
Yeah.
But still, I love that movie. It's the first Adam Sandler movie I ever saw. And it's just, I fucking love it so much. It's just one of those things where I fell in love with it when I was a kid, and it will always be super high up on my list. And it, like I said, it's just one of the most quotable movies of all time.
Well, it falls in that era of Adam Sandler movies where there's no wrong answer.
No.
True.
So,
Except
Phil,
for
your
Click,
favorite.
But...
Uh,
but
your favorite.
Not a good comedic movie.
uh,
Not a good comedic movie.
Well, and also it's a great sports comedy. Sports
It
comedies,
is.
the good
Yeah.
ones
Are
are
under
great,
great.
and this is one of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's there's no better golf movie.
No.
We talking about like Legend of Bagger Vance,
Bagger
Tin
Vance,
Cup.
which I like Legend of Bagger Vance. It's fucking corny as hell, but it's solid.
Can't about Caddyshack.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's not really. I mean, that is a golf-based comedy.
Yeah.
yeah.
Phil, what's your favorite?
It's got to be Big Daddy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. That was gonna be. I couldn't pick for my underrated. I couldn't pick between that and something else. But I'm like, Big Daddy's so loved though. It's hard to even call it underrated.
Yeah,
That movie kicks ass.
yeah.
That it does.
All right,
Oh.
least favorite. There's
I can get
another
this.
era of Adam Sandler movies where there's no wrong answer to this one.
I can get this one out of the way really fast. It's Jack and Jill.
It's Jack and Jill.
I was dragged to see it by my parents because they thought it would be a fun thing for us to do. We left an hour into the movie, and I don't think I've ever seen my dad angrier than the fact that we wasted an hour of his day to go see that movie.
Yeah, mine's Jack and Jill. I couldn't see the whole thing either.
I've never seen that one for that reason. So my least favorite is probably Lil Nicky, only because
You son of a bitch. You son of a
Only-
bitch.
Motherfucker.
it's a good movie, only because it reminds me of an ex-girlfriend.
Cover
Mm.
Trenton and Bees. You can do it.
Bees. You can do it. All right.
Jesus.
Underrated. Or let's move on to. Is that overrated?
Overrated, isn't it? Yeah, least favorite. So favorite, we've got Happy Gilmore, Big Daddy, and Click. Overrated, we've got 2 for Jack and Jill, and 1 for Little Nicky, you motherfucker.
To be fair, I haven't seen that other one.
It's
Fair.
There's
That's
no
fair.
way you would dislike it as much as Little Nicky.
No. No. Overrated for me. It's I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry.
I like that movie.
I
It's
like
just
that movie too. It's a lot of cast.
It's Kevin James.
We get
For
it,
me,
Colt. You're a homophobe. It's
Yeah. No, I should not admit to that. That should not be recorded.
Everyone knows you're kidding.
I don't know, man. It's something about Is it funny? Yes, but there's just something about the movie where I don't necessarily like it, man. I don't know if it's Kevin James or if it's I don't know what about it is, but it's just something about that movie I can't fucking stand.
Oh, and it kind of dances into that awkward territory of that point in time where they tried to make like a movie about being accepting of the gay community, and they probably did it in about the most problematic way possible.
Yeah,
Bingo.
almost the exact opposite of what they wanted to do.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that they tried to do would easily be called homophobic. So yeah,
Very true.
I do like that movie though. Trent, what do you got? Overrated.
50 First Dates.
I considered this one.
Ooh.
So don't get me wrong, I love the movie, but I think that it is way too hyped. It's one of the top rated ones on Netflix. It's just everywhere, and it's a decent movie, but I don't like it.
See, the reason I almost made this my overrated is because it tends to get grouped in when you talk about the golden age of Adam Sandler.
Mm-hmm.
It's much like the argument with Metallica. Like, some people say everything up to and including the Black Album is good, whereas I say everything up to the Black Album and a couple songs off Black Album is good. Cole, I know you like the Black Album.
The Black Album kicks so much ass.
I don't know what you hit there, but it made the most comical noise. It
My
sounded
barstool.
cooler the first time. But yeah,
Thanks, Trent.
the reason I'd consider this overrated is just, some people group it in with the golden age of Adam Sandler movies, And I just can't give it that.
Yeah, for sure.
But it is a good movie. But my overrated, it's the Zohan. Because there's people who think this movie isn't fucking terrible, and it clearly is. The fact that people like it at all makes it overrated.
It's so bad.
It's stupid as fuck. It's almost as annoying as Jack and Jill. And I will say, I haven't watched all of these Netflix Adam Sandler movies.
Ooh, my cousin's kid made me watch Hubie Halloween with her.
Yeah.
And I legitimately wanted to eat all of my fucking depressants watching that movie. It's so bad.
I saw part of the do-over and thought it was okay. But yeah, so Netflix is excluded, at least from me here.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
All right. Underrated?
Yep.
Underrated.
I'm waiting for you because I have a couple, and I have two potential answers, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna give one of them. So I'll pivot and go with whichever one you don't give.
I have two. The first one is Bulletproof, and the second one is Airheads.
Dude, I thought about Airheads.
I fucking love that movie, but I think Bulletproof is super underrated. He plays a drug dealer, and Damien, it's so fun. There's so many really underratedly funny lines. Like they come across a porno set, and Adam Sandler's like, "Holy shit!" I think the concept's funny where a DEA agent has to be handcuffed to a drug dealer. Though it's really funny. And then Airheads is just fucking. It's so good.
Airheads, Adam Sandler plays a caricature of himself before he had really established that caricature of himself.
And it's also like they're making fun of Point Break in it too, in a weird way. Where I'm just like, oh, it's so good.
I love Bulletproof is so much of just inserting Adam Sandler into an action movie. Not a direct quote, but stumbling across a porn set. Whoa, look at them boobies. I haven't seen Bulletproof in a long time, but that's all I remember of it is basically an actually decent action movie with Adam Sandler stumbling through it.
Right. Yeah, I think Airheads is awesome. But Phil, what's your truly underrated one?
Well, neither of what you said was what I was gonna say. One that I had considered is The Wedding Singer, just because it doesn't get brought up in the Adam Sandler classic
kill
canon.
Me, please.
But to rail against Trent here, I'm gonna go with my underrated being Little Nicky, because a lot of people consider this to be the movie where Adam Sandler jumped the shark. I fucking love Little Nicky. I actually just watched it 2 weeks ago. It's just so funny.
That dog is hilarious. I'll give you that.
Say Mr. Beefy. the dog, the metalheads, his roommate. It's got great characters. The outlandishness of the whole plot. Rodney Dangerfield is in it. It's just got so much going for it. And you calling it your least favorite makes me want to shove a pineapple up your ass.
Kinky.
Dude, the face when Hitler tries to pick a small pineapple to be the one that gets shoved up his ass, and instead they give him the big ass one. He goes, "You're schnerius."
I forgot Hitler's in that movie.
We are grown men talking about Adam Sandler movies.
All right, well, Trent, let's wrap this up with your underrated Adam Sandler movie.
I don't know if it's underrated. I don't hear enough about it. That's My Boy.
I haven't seen this one.
I have not seen That's My Boy either.
Completely underrated.
Oh yeah, if we haven't even seen it, then I can't argue against you, because... Yeah.
No. That movie's priceless. It's got Vanilla Ice in it, and Andy Samberg's in it. Like it's just funny. It's a good concept for a comedy.
Another one I would say is underrated is Anger Management.
Yeah.
That was my favorite comedic one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is. Yeah, except for all the stuff with the Yankees.
See, that's my one problem with Adam Sandler.
He's a
Every
Yankees
movie
fan.
that he tries to play a good guy, he's from New York. Every movie that he plays a douchebag or a dumbass, he's from Boston. I don't like it.
Hey, he was a good guy in Louisiana.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, but
Bobby.
I like how that wasn't brought up at all.
Because
during this
it's
entire
one
thing.
of those ones where it's like, if it's your favorite, like that's something, but it's also like it's a top 5 Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah.
It's not overrated. It's not underrated.
That's the thing. He has so many good movies and so many bad movies that this one actually took some... and then a lot that are in between where, like, I'd call them underrated because a lot of people don't like it. Or some that I think suck that other people really like. Like, he has a lot of, universally loved, universally hated, and polarizing. I just called Adam Sandler polarizing. This has gone too far.
Ooh, Grown Ups.
Technically, it
Grown
is.
Ups was decent. The first Grown Ups movie wasn't terrible.
I had
But
given
that had
up on him
Kevin
by that
James in it,
point.
Colton.
Huh?
Out of who?
Ah, it's a fucking good movie.
Oh no, it's got Kevin James in it though. I thought you didn't
Yeah,
like
but I can look past that. He's not fucking playing Paul Blart, so I'm cool with it.
it. Fair.
King
All
of
right,
Queens was a
that's-
great show.
It was okay.
It was a great show.
It's okay. She's hot. She's hot as fuck. She's
Leah
also a
Romani,
Mormon.
absolutely.
When did Pittsburgh score twice?
Oh shit, that game started. Yeah, we
Yeah.
really got to wrap this up.
All
It's
right,
almost
Trent,
to the
send
first.
us out of here.
Wait. Don't forget to check out our sponsors at slapstickclothing.com. You can find them on Facebook by just searching Slapstick Clothing or on Instagram at slapstick.clothing. Check out my movie podcast, Exit Music for a Film. You have to search it with the word podcast at the end, or all you're going to get is that Radiohead song of the same name. Just last week, we recorded an episode on Nomadland. And then my co-host from that is doing a separate show called Somewhere in Hollywood, where he has a game that has a bunch of cards with the names of genres, directors, actors, movies. He draws a card, and that's what we have an impromptu 10-minute discussion on. I just had my episode 2. I was the guest. Episode 1, his dad was. His dad got Jack Nicholson. That was a great episode. I got the genre card of sci-fi and fantasy. We mostly talked about They Live and Star Wars. So yeah, check me out on Exit Music for a Film podcast and Somewhere in Hollywood podcast. And now, Trenton, go ahead and send us out.
My name is Trenton Fuller, and I approve of this message.